thought I would just do an unboxing video of my 590 GTX I just received from Newegg. I've been waiting for it to show up on their website for some time now. It's actually the hydro copper version since I built a new water-cooled PC. And they've been out of stock everywhere. But finally Newegg just popped up about 3 days ago. Put in my order really fast, added the rush processing, and they shipped it immediately and arrived. So I'm just going to be opening up the box right now and taking out the components and piecing it together, and hopefully in this video I can also include the installation of it in the water-cooled PC to replace my current cards, which are Radeon 5890s. I've got two of them in SLI, so I consider this a pretty significant upgrade. Plus it leaves room for more upgrading in the future because I can add another 590 if and when I can find one in the future, because they're pretty hard to get your hands on right now. But anyways, let's go ahead and open it up, see what's inside. As you can see, it's a huge box. I almost think it's kind of insane how large this box is. And it looks like it was shipped directly from EVGA. Go Newegg. So here's the giant box. You can tell they really tried to do it up nice. Fortunately, it looks like both the seal stickers are barely held on. It doesn't look like it's been opened before, but you never really know, and plus there is a little dent in the side of the box, so hopefully Newegg isn't sending me a customer return. We'll find out when we get a look at the physical card. Wow, okay, it looks like it comes with a rather nice mouse pad. It's actually really thick. Looks like it has a traction surface on the bottom. I already have a pretty good mouse pad, but I don't know, I might have to throw this on the desk and give it a try. It's surprisingly thick. I don't know if you can really tell on the camera. And has a completely rubberized bottom. Looks like it's completely non-slip. We'll go ahead and throw that to the side. Looks like they include a giant poster. It says EVGA Gaming. I don't know, I suppose I'll hang this up in the man cave. Might as well advertise what I have. But yeah, it's kind of interesting. I don't think I've ever bought a video card that came with a poster before. Go ahead and lay that to the side. Oh look, they include a large EVGA t-shirt. Alright, now they're just hamming it up at this point. I think it's funny, how many people actually go buy a video card and like wear a t-shirt around that says what their video card is on the back of it? That's funny. But what the hell, I'll wear it. The packaging is very dense foam, almost like what you'd find in a Pelican case. Very, very high quality packaging, which I would expect for a video card that you pay, you know, nearly $1,000 for. Looks like the contents of the box got jostled around a little bit, but no big deal. In shipment here, looks like they have a driver install CD. What appears to be installation instructions. Pretty straightforward, how to slide it. I'd be surprised if many people have two of these. That would be quite an investment. Comes with two power adapters. Looks like it comes with a DisplayPort to HDMI adapter. That's actually or mini something here. Oh no, this is DisplayPort. So this is mini DisplayPort to standard DisplayPort. Looks like it comes with just a standard VGA to DVI dongle. I can't imagine there's one person in the world that actually has this powerful of a card just connected through VGA. But who knows? Might be some die-hard player out there that thinks CRTs are better. More power to them. 2 water-cooled barb adapters and 2 plugs. So if you're not running an SLI configuration, and it looks like it comes with 2 locking clamps, so you can get them all tightened up. This is the hardware I will be using to install it today, because unfortunately I didn't buy 2 more compression fittings from Frozen PC. Not a big deal though. Until it leaks, then it'll absolutely be a big deal, so let's hope that doesn't happen. Looks like we got a DVI to HDMI converter, so if you want to hook it to an HD TV. I'm actually going to be hooking it to 3 HD TVs today to do the HD surround stuff, but I already have multiple of these adapters, so I'll just use all of those. Looks like I've got a powered by EVGA badge that you put on the computer, I'm guessing. I don't know where you wear it, like a Star Trek badge, who knows, I guess it depends on how nerdy you really are. And then of course you've got the card. Attention, please allows the graphics card to cool for a minimum of 2 minutes after operation before removing it from the system. Okay, well I guess that's logical since you got hot water flowing through it. And now for the card. Oh my god. Alright, well the first thing I noticed taking the card out is it weighs a lot more than I thought it would. I mean, I'd have to say this card feels like it weighs between 5 and 8 pounds, to be honest. It feels like a solid brick of steel. I've never had a water-cooled video card before, so I can't really compare it to anything else, but I'm actually shocked that the slot can even support the weight of this thing. Alright, let's take it out. And there is the beast. Looks like it has some protective covering on each side of the heatsink that can come off here, just to keep it looking nice. I'm not one of those hardcore people. I don't care if the case looks flawless and if everything's routed. I mean, I understand some people treat it like a piece of art, and I respect that. Me personally, I just don't have the patience for it. But it's an absolutely beautiful card. The heatsink is way heavier duty than I expected. I can't imagine the cooling on this card being anything better than excellent. So here's the card. As you can see, it's got a place on the bottom so you can hook on the barb fittings, top or bottom feed, or vice versa, and then you can just put the caps on the side that you're not using. This is powered by Swift Tech. I'm not sure if they're just like the makers of the heatsink or not. I'm not really sure. But yeah, not much to it. I mean, it's really streamlined looking. I like the water cool because you don't see any of the PCB or anything. It's just, you know, a solid brick with a bunch of display connectors on the back of it, which I think is cool. Alright, well I'm going to shut this down and see if I can start figuring out how to get this into the PC, because I've got to remove a lot of water cooling and drain some of the system to get this installed, because I don't have quick disconnects like a lot of people used in their builds. So I'm paying for that now. Alright, I'll fire this back up in a minute. Alright, I'm back to take a little more video. I want you to get a look at the computer before I upgrade it with the new graphics card. But this is the Case Labs M10 case with the extended top on it, running two 360 Black Ice rads, and I think I got about 20 fans in there. Each one of these lights is a different fan controller. I want this to be more of a review of the graphics card though, so I'll do a separate review on the computer itself. But as you can see right now, if you open the door, I've got two 5870 Radeons in Crossfire right now, and they're not water cooled. So the goal is to get the water cooled setup in there so that I have a higher performance graphics card and I can lower the temperatures. Because I want the system to be rock stable. My goal isn't to really go for, you know, the fastest thing I can get and overclock everything. That's why I opted to get the 590 instead of the two independent 580s. I just want stability, and then the option later on to upgrade to a second 590. So, but this is my setup. I've got three 46-inch LED edge-lit panels, and they're all currently attached, and I've got the Logitech Klipsch hybrid surround sound. I consider it a pretty clean setup. But luckily for me, I have a wife that, you know, doesn't care that I do all this stuff, which is nice. But down here, this is my other server. I have two computers running up here. This one hosts all my virtual machines, and it's basically just my sandbox to play around. It's a little messy. I got just my joysticks and stuff just laying around and all my controllers. But anyways, that's my setup. So I'm going to go ahead and figure out how I'm going to tear into this, because the biggest problem I have is, here's my water reservoir. Right now running a very high pigment blue liquid cooling stuff that stains everything. I already know when I was putting it together I stained tons of stuff. So, and then that runs through the whole system here down to the CPU, but it also runs to these two radiators up here on top underneath this cowling. So I have a lot of liquid in the system, and most of it's up here in the top. So I think that's going to pose a problem. Some of the things I'm going to try is putting some clips onto the hoses, because it's a very pliable hose. I'll try to put some clips onto the hose where I take off the CPU water block, and I'll try to disconnect those over a towel or something so it just drains out a little bit of the fluid. And then I'll reroute the other lines before hooking, unhooking the clips, because I want to try to avoid draining the entire system. But unfortunately, I think I may have to drain most of it to replace the graphics card. But I'll tinker around with it and find the best way to do it with making the least amount of mess. And once I get that underway, I'll start the video again. Alright, I think I've got a plan here. So I'm trying to minimize the amount of work it's going to take to install this graphics card, because that's obviously the downside of the water cooling systems, is unless you have a bunch of expensive quick disconnects and everything's perfectly to length, you can't just like freely remove stuff easily and like put it back in place without spillage. So I got this old baking pan I'm going to use as kind of a catch-all that I'm going to put across the bottom of the case while I'm doing the work, just so anything leaked can be recovered. Just cleaned it up and wiped it off. I found an old nitro RC fuel bottle. Looks like you could just, buy this at any hobby shop. I'm basically going to use it to drain the reservoir and pull any excess fluid from resting places, just so I can keep it and I can recycle it once I get the system back together. And then I got some bag clips that you use for food and snack bags to seal them. I'm hoping that I can put these clips over the hose, because I got really soft hosing. I didn't get the vinyl stuff. I'm hoping that I can use these clips in certain points in the system to hold the fluid back, and that way I'll have minimal drainage when I disconnect the fittings from the CPU heatsink, and which of course is going to cause some drainage. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and get started, and we'll see how this goes. I'm going to go ahead and start by draining some of the fluid out of the reservoir, just so when I'm moving hoses around and tipping things, I don't have the fluid coming up and spilling out, using that same nitro bottle. Okay, first attempt was failed because I gave up all my air room before I pulled it out. Let's try this again. There we go. Much better. Wow, that reservoir holds a lot less than I thought it did. I'm going to go ahead and set that aside. Go ahead and put the cap back on it for now. Okay, I went ahead and positioned my drain pan here while I'm working on, I'll pull the other video cards, and I'm hoping that once I pull the water block off the CPU and I disconnect the lines, I can get the fluid to flow out into the pan where I can recollect it. Alright, I got the two Radeon 5870s out. That was a pain in the butt because there's like no space to get your fingers in to release the lockout on the PCI Express slot. But there's the two cards, match set. Well, those will be up for sale on Craigslist. Keep an eye out, Seattle area. Alright, now that I got that out of the way, I'm going to start clamping off some of these lines to keep fluid from moving through the system. Then I'm going to pull the heatsink. And I think I'll also pull the sound card just so there's less of a chance of anything dripping on anything important. I'm using non-conductive coolant, but at the same time I still just don't want to risk anything. Okay, I just unscrewed the water block. I'm going to go ahead and pull that. While doing it, I noticed that one of the studs that they sent me for this water block was actually the wrong stud. I'm going to see if I have the right one in my spare parts bin and see if I can replace it, but I think those are the only ones they sent. I think it just got mispackaged, but that one down there to the right is actually quite a bit shorter than the others, so it was throwing off the tension. So I can manually feel the tension when I'm crimping it down, but it'd be best if I had the actual post. But my CPU temperatures haven't been bad, so I don't think it's that big of an issue. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and pull this. You can say the thermal compound distribution is absolutely horrendous. So that was epic fail on my part. So I'm going to have to do a better job applying the thermal compound next time. Alright, I've attached the little snack bag clamps onto the two hoses. I'm hoping that they're enough to seal off all flow. I won't know for sure until I actually open up the connections here. But hopefully they hold. If they do, then I can use these clamps to hold the fluid in the system with just losing what's in the little bits in the line there until I hook up the new graphics card. Wow, I'm quite surprised. That actually worked. I moved the clips down to reduce the amount of fluid loss, but it's preventing any more fluid from traveling down into the lines. And my drain pan worked perfectly. So alright, next step, I'm going to go ahead and install the graphics card, get this in and add one new length of hose and finish up the loop and put it back together. This thing is a beast. Haven't hooked up the water lines yet, but I've got it installed in the system, and I added the two barbs and then the two plugs underneath and tightened them all down good and snug. So now I'm going to go ahead and connect up the water lines. I'm going to take the inlet right here, run to the closest one to the edge because they're not directional. I checked. And then I'm going to come out of this one right here and go to the CPU. And then from the CPU, I'm going to go back out to the reservoir. So, and through the radiators and pump and all that. So I've got another length of tube right here that I'm going to go ahead and cut, and I'll get all those fittings in place, and once I'm done I'll go ahead and release the clamps, and I'll turn the camera back on when we power it up and see the fluid flow through and see how much more fluid needs to be added to the system now to fill up the heatsink on this giant card. Okay, so hit my first setback. These are the little clamps that come with it, but unfortunately it looks like the barbs are for a larger diameter hose than what I had. My hose is flexible enough to fit around it no problem and fit snugly. The only problem is the clamp all the way clamped down doesn't even touch the outside surface of the tubing. So they were designed for much thicker tubing. So as an alternative, I picked up these little metal clamps that are a little bit smaller. I'm going to go ahead and use those because I can actually control the tension and make sure it's on there good and snug, because I don't want these things coming off. Alright, well so far I've got it hooked up. It looks like the barbs that come with the card have an inside diameter of 3/8, and my tubing has an outside diameter, so a little bit of a sizing difference, which is odd because everything I bought was standard from Frozen CPU. But so anyways, the tubing was flexible enough to easily stretch over the fittings, and I just couldn't use their clamping solution because it looked like it was expecting a much thicker and much harder tube like vinyl. So instead I just used hose clamps. A little more ghetto. I mean, now it looks like, you know, my computer was plumbed by Home Depot, but it's secure. I mean, these hoses are on there like super good. I grabbed the card and yanked on them, so I'm confident that they'll hold and they'll keep a good seal. So next thing is to go ahead and clean up the CPU and the water block and reapply some thermal paste and get that mounted and fasten down the new line that I just attached here and cut it to size, and we should be ready to turn it on. Alright, we're looking a little messy, but we got it all hooked up. So now I got it coming down out of radiator 2 into the graphics card. Then it goes through the graphics card, then through the CPU, then out through the return line, and then back into the reservoir. So some people say to hook up the CPU before the GPU. I'm going to try it the other way and see how it works out. If my CPU temperatures are being pushed too high and it's too unstable, then I'll reverse it. But I would like to give the graphics card priority, since my goal here isn't to push the overclock on the CPU as far as possible. I'd like to give the graphics card the most stability and capability if possible. Alright, let's go ahead and pull the clips off. Everything's solid. Heatsink's got new thermal compounds all tightened down. Now I just need to remove the hooks, but before I do that, I'm going to add my fluid back to my reservoir just because I don't want to introduce any unnecessary bubbles to the system, even though I realize it does need to purge again. So here's our bottle of extra fluid. Go ahead and return that. Alright, we're topped off. Let's go ahead and pull the clamps, let the fluid start flowing. There we go. See bubbles floating up out of the graphics card up into the radiator. Disconnect the CPU. That's interesting. Alright, so far nothing looks like it's leaking. Alright, let's plug in some power and see what this thing does. Actually, I should probably plug some power into the graphics card too. Alright, I'll turn this back on in a second. Wow, that took the reservoir down a lot. That heatsink holds a lot of fluid. Wow, it blew all the bubbles out. Fluid's traveling really fast. We have no leaks. This is looking good. Got flow through the CPU. Everything appears to be working as expected. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and shut it down. Top off the reservoir. And then I'll go ahead and boot it up and start configuring the new graphics card. Looks like this install was a success. Not too difficult, but it definitely makes you understand why more people don't water cool. It definitely makes simple tasks like just removing and swapping components much more difficult, but it's worth it in the end just to have this massive amount of cooling, and plus it's just awesome. See the fluid moving around in the reservoir. It's a good sign. Alright, well, I don't do a lot of YouTube videos or anything like that, so please forgive the crappy video editing and the babbling at times, but I hope you found this informative, and I hope that some of the methods that I used somebody can leverage themselves or approve on. If you think they were absolutely idiotic, I mean, feel free to flame me all you want in the comments. I actually enjoy reading them. Alright, that's it. Looks like I've successfully done this without frying anything. Fantastic.